Ethan Carter adjusted his helmet as his boots crunched against the alien soil of HFY. The planet was beautiful yet eerie, glowing blue forests, floating rock formations, and a sky painted in 3 suns. His research team had landed only an hour ago. Their mission simple: study the Xeri, an advanced alien race, and establish peaceful relations. But nothing about this mission felt simple now. The Xeri stood before them, tall, elegant beings with silver, bioluminescent skin and eyes that shimmered like liquid crystals. They wore flowing armor-like garments, their movements graceful yet unnatural, like a simulation running too smoothly. Ethan had seen many alien species in his career, but the Xeri were different. They were too perfect, too controlled. One of them stepped forward, a female. She was striking, even by human standards. Her features were sharp yet delicate, her expression calm but intensely focused. She studied Ethan as if she were scanning every molecule of his being. He felt a strange chill run down his spine. "I am Commander Soraya." She spoke in flawless English. Her voice was smooth, almost mechanical. "You are the human scientist, Ethan Carter." Ethan blinked in surprise. "You already know my name. We have studied you." She tilted her head slightly. "You fascinate us." That didn't make Ethan feel any better. Dr. Hughes, the team's linguist, cleared her throat. "We come in peace. We seek knowledge, understanding, and friendship." Soraya's gaze didn't shift from Ethan. "Yes, knowledge, understanding." A pause. Then a whisper. "I must experience human mating." Silence. Ethan was sure he misheard her. He exchanged awkward glances with his team, but Soraya's expression didn't change. What?" Ethan finally said. Soraya blinked. "Your species is unique. You feel emotions. You bond. You form attachments that affect your biology, behavior, and survival." She took a slow step forward. "The Xeri do not. We have eliminated emotion. We reproduce through engineered genetics, but there are questions we cannot answer. Questions that only human experience may reveal." Ethan opened his mouth, then closed it again. His brain refused to process this conversation. "I do not seek mere biological study," Soraya continued. "I seek to understand what it means to connect, to feel, to desire." Her voice wavered slightly on the last word, a tiny crack in her otherwise perfect composure. The team was frozen. The moment felt unreal. Finally, Dr. Hughes spoke, voice uncertain. "Commander Soraya, emotions are not something you can study like a chemical reaction. They are messy, unpredictable, and deeply personal." Soraya's crystalline eyes didn't move from Ethan. "Then I must experience them, and I will begin with you." Ethan gulped. This mission just got a lot more complicated. Soraya and Ethan moved through the lower levels of the Xeri city where the light did not shine as brightly. The structures here were old, forgotten, a place where no Xeri bothered to go. Ethan leaned against a metallic wall, catching his breath. "Okay, new rule. Next time you say jump, I get to ask how high before we're falling." Soraya tilted her head. "But we survived." Ethan sighed. "Yeah, but barely." He looked at her and smiled. "Not bad for your first escape, though." Soraya should have felt fear. She had broken every rule. The Xeri would never forgive her for this. But instead of fear, she felt something else. Excitement, freedom, possibility. She turned serious. "They will not stop hunting us." Ethan nodded. "I figured. So what's the plan?" Soraya glanced around. There had to be a way off this planet. Then she saw it, an old transport station, hidden between rusted pillars. If they could reach it, they might have a chance. She pointed. "There. That ship could take us away." Ethan's face lit up. "Now that's a plan I like." One last obstacle. They ran toward the station, but the moment they entered, an alarm blared. The doors slammed shut behind them. Siria's heart pounded. It's a trap. From the shadows, High Counselor Vecren stepped forward. His silver eyes glowed with cold fury. "Commander Siriya," he said, voice sharp as steel. "You disappoint me." Siriya stood firm. "I am no longer your commander." Vecren's expression did not change. "You have been infected by human emotions, but it is not too late. Surrender, and we will erase these mistakes." Ethan stepped forward. "She's not a mistake." Vecren barely looked at him. "You are the source of this corruption. Your influence has poisoned her mind." Siriya clenched her fists. "No, you are wrong. Emotions are not a weakness." Vecren's gaze darkened. "Then you leave me no choice." Behind him, Ixarian forcers appeared, weapons aimed. Siriya had a split second to react. "Ethan, move." She grabbed his wrist and lunged for the control panel, slamming a button. The ship's engines roared to life. The station shook as metal groaned, the doors unlocking. Ethan pulled her toward the ship. "Let's go." Blasts of energy sizzled through the air as the enforcers fired. Siriya spun around, grabbed a fallen energy baton, and blocked a shot just in time. She looked back at Vecren one last time. "This is my choice." Then she ran into the ship. The final flight. The doors sealed shut behind them as Ethan rushed to the controls. "Hold on." The ship lurched upward, engines burning through the sky. Siriya sat beside him, breathing heavily. She was no longer a Ixari commander, no longer a servant of logic. She was something new, and for the first time, she was truly alive. Ethan Carter sat across from Commander Siriya in a quiet section of the Ixari Knowledge Hub. The room was vast, lined with floating screens of data, but there were no personal belongings, no decorations, nothing that felt alive. The Ixari valued information, yet they seemed to lack the very thing that made knowledge meaningful: personal experience. Siriya watched him closely, her crystalline eyes reflecting the soft glow of the floating screens. "You said friendship is the first step. What does this process require?" Ethan chuckled. "It's not a process. It just happens. Friends spend time together, talk about their lives, share things that matter to them." Siriya's expression remained unreadable. "I do not have a personal life to share." Ethan hesitated. "Nothing at all. I was created for service. I was assigned my rank, my purpose. My memories are stored in data form, accessible to all." Ethan frowned. "Wait, all your memories, your thoughts. Anyone can just read them." "Yes," Siriya said simply. "Individual experiences do not belong to us. They belong to the collective." Ethan exhaled slowly. The Ixari had no personal boundaries, no sense of self. Everything about them was shared, except emotions. That part of them had been erased long ago. He ran a hand through his hair. "No offense, but your society sounds kinda depressing." Siriya tilted her head. "You find our way of life unacceptable." "I find it empty," Ethan admitted. "Humans fight, struggle, and make mistakes, but that's what makes life real. It's not just about surviving. It's about feeling something." For the first time, Siriya looked away, as if deep in thought. A strange request. Hours passed, and Ethan found himself teaching Siriya about human culture, stories, art, emotions, and the small things that made life meaningful. Siriya absorbed everything like a machine, but there was something else too. A change. A crack in her perfect composure. Finally, she spoke. "I wish to experience more." Ethan arched a brow. "Like what?" Siriya leaned forward slightly. "Physical touch. Humans connect through it." Ethan nearly choked on his own breath. Okay, slow down. That's a little advanced." Siriya's gaze was unwavering. "You said friendship comes first. I have observed that friends touch as a sign of trust. A handshake, a hug, a gesture of comfort." Ethan hesitated, then slowly extended his hand. Soraya looked at it for a moment before placing her fingers in his. The moment their skin met, her body shivered. A tiny reaction, almost unnoticeable. Her fingers tightened just a little before she pulled away. "I felt something," she whispered. Ethan saw it, the flicker of something deep inside her, something awakening. The experiment wasn't just scientific anymore. Syria was changing, and that scared him more than anything. Syria stood motionless, staring at Ethan Carter. The words of High Counselor Vekran echoed in her mind. "End your connection with the human. Emotions are a weakness." But was that true? For so long, she had believed in the Exari way, logic, order, and the rejection of feelings. Yet now, as she looked at Ethan, she felt something she couldn't ignore. A warmth in her chest, a pull toward him. She took a slow breath. "Ethan, I must warn you. The High Council is watching us. They believe I am changing." Ethan's expression darkened. "And that's a bad thing." "To them, yes," Syria said. "If they confirm that I have emotions, they will see me as defective." Ethan clenched his jaw. "That's insane. Feeling something doesn't make you broken. It makes you alive." Syria hesitated. "I do not know what to do." Ethan reached out and gently placed a hand on her arm. "You don't have to decide everything now. Just ask yourself one thing. Do you want to keep feeling?" Syria's fingers twitched at his touch. The warmth returned, stronger this time. She did not pull away. "Yes," she whispered. For the first time, she had made a decision not based on logic, but on feeling. The betrayal. Before Ethan could respond, a sharp alarm blared through the city. The cold, mechanical voice echoed in the air. "Commander Soraya, report to High Command immediately. Failure to comply will result in disciplinary action." Ethan tensed. "That's not good." Soraya's chest tightened. "They know." Ethan grabbed her wrist. "Then we run." Soraya's eyes widened. "Run? That is illogical. Where would we go?" "Anywhere but here." Ethan pulled her, but she resisted. "If I leave, I will be hunted," Soraya said. "I will become an outcast." Ethan stared at her. "Syria, is that really worse than losing yourself?" The alarms grew louder. Ixari enforcers, tall, silver-skinned figures, were already appearing in the distance, moving in perfect synchronization. Syria's heart pounded. Fear, another new feeling. But as she looked at Ethan, she realized something. She wasn't afraid of running. She was afraid of never seeing him again. She made her choice. Grabbing Ethan's hand, she whispered, "We go." Then, for the first time in her life, Syria disobeyed an order. And the chase began. Syria walked through the glowing corridors of the Ixari Central Command, her mind clouded with unfamiliar thoughts. For the first time in her existence, she felt uncertain. The Ixari were supposed to be perfect, free of emotions, free of conflict. And yet, ever since she had started spending time with Ethan Carter, something inside her had begun to change. She had felt curiosity when he spoke of human culture. She had felt unease when he questioned the Ixari way. She had felt something unknown when he touched her hand. But she wasn't supposed to feel anything. As she entered the data chamber, a cold voice interrupted her thoughts. "You have been different, Commander Soraya." She turned sharply. Standing before her was High Counselor Vekran, a tall, imposing Ixari elder. His silver skin pulsed slightly, his crystalline eyes locked onto her. "I do not understand," Syria said carefully. Vekran took a step closer. "Your connection with the human, your interactions, your hesitation." His eyes narrowed. "You are changing." Syria remained silent. Vekran gestured to the floating screens around them. "We have been monitoring your actions. The way you walk, the way you speak. Even now, you hesitate before answering." Syria felt a chill run through her. They had noticed. "The High Council does not tolerate deviation," Vekran continued. "Emotions are a disease, a weakness. You know this." Syria straightened. I am loyal to the Ixeri. Vekran studied her for a moment. Then he turned toward the holographic screens and swiped his hand. A recorded image appeared, Soraya and Ethan standing on the bridge, their hands touching. Siria's pulse quickened. The human is influencing you, Vikran said coldly. This must be corrected. The choice. Hours later, Siria found Ethan near the outskirts of the city, staring at the alien sky. His expression was thoughtful, but when he saw her, he smiled. Hey, Soraya. What's up? She hesitated. For the first time, she didn't know what to say. She had been given a choice. The High Council had ordered her to end all contact with Ethan. If she refused, she would be considered defective, a threat to the Ixari way. But when she looked at Ethan, she didn't see a threat. She saw something else, a connection, a possibility. Siria took a slow breath. Ethan, if the Ixari considered emotions dangerous, would you still believe they are worth it? Ethan frowned. Of course. Feelings are what make life real. Without them, what's the point? Suria's hands clenched at her sides. She had spent her entire life believing emotions were a weakness, but now she wasn't so sure. And that doubt could cost her everything. The stolen ship raced through the sky, leaving the Ixari city behind. Alarms blared across the control panel, warning of pursuit. Ethan gripped the controls. Siria, we've got company. Siria looked at the screen. 3 Ixari patrol ships were closing in fast, their sleek forms cutting through the darkness like blades. They will not let us escape, she said. Ethan smirked. They can try. He yanked the controls, sending the ship into a sharp dive. The Ixari ships followed, firing streaks of blue energy. Siria's mind worked fast. The gravity field near the planet's rings. Can you reach it? Ethan glanced at her. You want a slingshot out of here? She nodded. If we use the planet's pull, we can accelerate past their range. Ethan grinned. I love how you think. The final chase. The ship shook violently as another blast grazed the hull. The Ixari were closing in. Siria's heart pounded. If they were caught, she would be erased. Her entire existence, her memories, her emotions would be wiped. No, she refused to let that happen. She looked at Ethan. His hands were steady, his eyes full of determination. He was not afraid. And neither was she. Hold on, Ethan shouted. The ship dove straight toward the planet's rings, the massive gravitational pull dragging them faster and faster. The Ixari ships hesitated, too late. The stolen ship slingshotted forward, breaking past the atmosphere in a burst of speed. The Ixari ships tried to follow, but they couldn't match the force of the maneuver. One by one, they were left behind. The ship burst into open space, the stars stretching before them. Silence filled the cockpit. Siria exhaled, her body relaxing. We did it. Ethan leaned back, laughing breathlessly. That was insane. Let's never do that again. Siria turned to him. Agreed. They shared a look, one filled with relief, excitement, and something deeper, a future unknown. The Ixari homeworld was now far behind them. Siria was no longer a commander, no longer bound by rules she never questioned before. Ethan looked at her. So, where do we go now? Siria thought for a moment. For the first time, she had no orders to follow, only her own choices. A small smile formed on her lips. Anywhere. Ethan grinned. I like the sound of that. The ship soared into the vast unknown. 2 souls, once so different, now bound by something greater. Not logic, not duty, but choice. And for Siria, that was more powerful than anything she had ever known. Siria had never run before. Not like this. She and Ethan sprinted through the glowing corridors of the Ixari city, alarms blaring behind them. The enforcers were fast, their metallic footsteps pounding against the smooth ground. They were coming. Ethan gripped her hand tightly. Any idea where we're going? Siria's mind raced. There is a transport bay ahead. If we reach it, we can escape. Ethan smirked. Now that's a plan I can work with. They turned a corner, but a group of enforcers blocked the path. Their silver eyes glowed as one stepped forward. Commander Soraya, surrender. You have violated the Xeri law. Soraya's heart pounded. She had always been the one giving orders, never the one defying them. Ethan raised his hands. All right, listen. We don't want trouble. The enforcers raised their energy weapons. Ethan sighed. Okay, maybe we do. Soraya's instincts took over. She grabbed Ethan and pulled him through a side passage. A blast of energy struck the wall behind them, sending sparks flying. They are not programmed to hesitate, she said. Great, I'll remember that, Ethan muttered as they ran. A leap of faith. They reached the edge of the city, a massive platform overlooking the glowing energy stream below. Ethan skidded to a stop. Soraya. That's a really long drop. Soraya looked behind them. More enforcers were closing in. She turned back to Ethan. Do you trust me? Ethan blinked. You're not thinking. She grabbed his arm. Jump. Before he could argue, she pulled him off the platform. The world rushed past them as they plummeted toward the energy stream. Ethan barely had time to shout before they hit the surface. Only they didn't sink. Instead, the energy caught them, slowing their fall like liquid light. The current carried them forward, away from the city, away from danger. Ethan gasped. Okay. That was insane. Soraya allowed herself a small smile. But it worked. Ethan laughed. Yeah, it did. A new path. The energy stream carried them to a lower section of the city, where the lights were dimmer, the structures older. Ethan climbed onto the platform, breathing hard. All right, what now? Soraya looked up at the distant towers of high command. She had betrayed her people. There was no going back. But when she looked at Ethan, she didn't feel regret. She felt free. We keep going, she said. Together. For the first time in her life, Soraya was making her own choices. And no matter what happened next, she knew one thing. She would never stop running toward who she was meant to be. Ethan Carter walked beside Commander Soraya, feeling the weight of something unspoken between them. The Xeri city glowed in the distance, its towering structures humming with quiet energy. Everything about this place was perfect, efficient, controlled, just like its people. And yet, Soraya was changing. She walked differently now, her posture no longer as rigid. There was a subtle softness in her eyes, a hesitation in her movements. It was as if her mind was battling between what she had been taught and what she was beginning to feel. She suddenly stopped. Ethan. He turned to her. Yeah. Soraya hesitated before speaking. I have reviewed our conversation about emotions. I have more questions. Ethan smirked. I figured. She looked up at the alien sky. You said emotions are unpredictable. But humans still seek them. Why? Ethan sighed. Because they make life worth living. Love, joy, excitement, even sadness. It all makes us feel alive. Soraya processed his words carefully. If emotions bring suffering, why not remove them? Like the Xeri. Ethan frowned. Because without emotions, we'd just be machines. We wouldn't have art, music, friendship, or stories. Soraya remained quiet. Something was shifting inside her. A test of trust. They reached a bridge overlooking a vast Xeri energy stream. The river below wasn't made of water but pure light, moving like liquid silver. Ethan leaned on the railing. All right, let's try something. Soraya raised an eyebrow. An experiment. Sort of, Ethan said. Close your eyes. She hesitated. Why? Trust me. Soraya slowly closed her eyes. Ethan spoke softly. Forget logic for a moment. Just listen. Feel the wind, the hum of the city, the warmth of the energy below us. Soraya remained silent. Then, after a moment, she whispered, I feel something. Ethan smiled. That's emotions. They can't be calculated, only experienced. She opened her eyes, and for the first time, she looked uncertain. This is dangerous. Ethan frowned. Why? If the Ixeri High Council learns of this, they will not allow it. Ethan's stomach twisted. They don't want you to feel. She shook her head. Emotions are considered a flaw. If I am changing, I may be seen as defective. Ethan clenched his fists. That's not right. You're not defective. You're evolving. For the first time, Suria's expression softened. Ethan, I do not know what is happening to me. Ethan held her gaze. You're becoming more than what they made you. She didn't answer. But for the first time, she didn't look away either. And that meant everything. Ethan Carter wasn't sure what he had just witnessed. Suria, the cold, logical Ixeri commander, had reacted to his touch. It was small, barely noticeable, but for a species that had erased emotions, it was huge. She flexed her fingers as if studying the sensation. That was strange. Ethan forced a chuckle. Yeah, well, welcome to the world of human emotions. Confusing and unpredictable. Suria's gaze locked onto him. I must experience more. Ethan held up his hands. Hey, let's take this slow. Friendship isn't just about physical contact. It's about trust, shared experiences. Let's try something simple first. Suria nodded. Suggest an activity. Ethan thought for a moment. Then he grinned. Ever heard of storytelling? The power of stories. They sat outside near the glowing blue trees of HFY. The air was cool, filled with the soft hum of distant alien life. Ethan leaned back, staring up at the three suns in the sky. In human culture, he began, stories are important. They teach us lessons, help us understand emotions, and connect us to others. Suria listened, her sharp mind absorbing every word. The Ixeri do not tell stories. We record data, but personal interpretation is unnecessary. Ethan shook his head. That's what makes us different. Stories aren't just about facts. They're about meaning. Suria was silent for a moment. Then, in a quiet voice, she said, Tell me one. Ethan smiled. All right. This is an old Earth story. It's about a man who fell in love with the moon. Every night, he would stare at her, wishing he could be with her. One day, he built a ship and traveled into the sky. But when he got close, he realized the moon was not what he thought. She was distant, cold, and untouchable. Suria tilted her head. And what happened to him? He returned home, Ethan said. But he still loved her, even from afar. A long silence followed. That is illogical, Suria finally said. If the moon did not love him back, why continue to feel? Ethan sighed. Because emotions don't follow logic. That's the point. Suria lowered her gaze. That is difficult to understand. Ethan looked at her closely. But you want to understand, don't you? She hesitated. Then, for the first time, she nodded. Something is changing. As they walked back to the Ixeri city, Ethan noticed something. Suria was no longer walking like a programmed soldier. Her steps were more natural, less rigid. She was changing. And if the Ixeri discovered it, they might not allow it to continue. Ethan Carter shifted uncomfortably under Suria's unblinking gaze. His team had gone silent, their expressions frozen between confusion and shock. The Ixeri commander had just made a request that was completely unexpected, completely insane. I don't think that's how this works, Ethan said carefully. Suria tilted her head. Explain. Ethan sighed. Human mating isn't just a physical act. It's connected to emotions, things like love, trust, attraction. It's not something you just decide to study like a science project. Suria blinked. Then I will study these emotions first. That's not. Ethan stopped himself. There was no point arguing with a logic-driven alien. She had already decided. Dr. Hughes cleared her throat. Commander Soraya, why are you interested in human emotions? Your species doesn't feel them, right? A brief silence. Syria's expression remained calm, but something flickered in her crystalline eyes. A shadow of uncertainty. There are anomalies, she admitted. Some Ixeri experience emotions in small, unpredictable ways. They are considered defects. Defects? Ethan frowned. You mean your people erase emotions? Syria nodded. We have evolved beyond such things. Emotions cause conflict. They create weakness. But her gaze returned to Ethan. Sharper now. Humans thrive on emotions. Your species has conquered galaxies, built empires, formed unbreakable bonds. We wish to understand if emotions are a strength. Ethan crossed his arms. And you think the best way to do that is by experiencing human relationships? Syria nodded. Yes. Ethan exhaled. This was beyond anything he had trained for. He was a scientist, not some alien romance instructor. But he could see something deeper in Soraya, curiosity, maybe even longing. Whether she admitted it or not, she wasn't just studying humans. She wanted to feel something for herself. All right, he said, rubbing his temple. If you want to understand human connection, we start small. Friendship first. Friendship, Soraya repeated. Yeah, Ethan said. No experiments. No research subjects. Just two people spending time together. Syria was silent for a moment. Then she gave a slow nod. Very well. I will be your friend. Ethan wasn't sure if that was comforting or terrifying. The first test. Later that day, Syria invited Ethan to the Ixeri Central Knowledge Hub, a massive glowing structure that floated above the ground. Inside, thousands of holographic screens flickered with information, but Ethan noticed something strange. There are no personal stories here, he muttered. No history of individuals. Syria nodded. The Ixeri do not record personal experiences, only facts. Ethan frowned. A whole civilization with no stories, no art, no personal memories. He couldn't imagine it. This is why I need to understand humans, Syria said, to feel what you feel. Ethan looked at her, this powerful, cold, logical alien commander who wanted to experience something her species had abandoned long ago. Maybe, just maybe, she could.